Hiya, so what we're going to do now is we're going to work through a series of exercises on the big gym ball. So they're really nice and functional for riders because obviously we're in a similar sort of position to what would be on the horse. So the really great thing about working on the big gym ball is that we can use it obviously to work on strength, balance, coordination, all sorts of things. So really good in terms of training. But it's a really good and very effective assessment technique as well. So what we often find is we can really accurately identify our strengths, weaknesses, asymmetries, postural issues on the gym ball. It doesn't lie, it moves as well. So when we're riding our horses, often if we've got a slight asymmetry or a muscular weakness, more often than not, actually the horses do a pretty good job of bracing against it. So we do often see things like horses falling through shoulders, quarters in, quarters out. So those sorts of issues, hanging onto a contact, that sort of thing, which often is created by the rider. But when we take you off the horse onto the big gym ball, we really truly see what your weaknesses are. So it's fabulous. We can then come up with a really good treatment plan and some really nice exercises for those weaknesses. So what I'm going to do today is run through just a basic setup position. So how we'd work on getting ourselves into the kind of optimal start position. I will then go through a couple of other videos working on some of those specific things. For example, I'm going to do some side-to-side pelvic tilting, which obviously is so important. I could talk about that for hours, so I'll do a separate video on that and perhaps some other things in there as well. All right, so obviously get yourself a gym ball if you want to do this. Normally about 60 to 65 centimetres, but it really does depend on how tall you are. Okay, so you need to get one that's appropriate for you. If you're slightly shorter, you'd need a smaller one. Obviously taller, you'd need a big one. So get yourself into sitting, and we're going to bring our feet together and we're going to bring hands onto the hips. We bring our toes out to the side and always line heels up with toes. So we're essentially bringing our feet about hip width apart. So to start with, I'm going to do some pelvic tilting forwards and backwards. So I'm going to imagine my pelvis is a bucket of water, and I'm going to tip the water out the front, and then I'm going to tip water out the back. Now, I've got my shoulders stacked over my hips as I do this. It's a really slow and controlled movement. The ball isn't moving, my shoulders aren't moving, my rib cage isn't moving. It's only my lower back and my pelvis. So I'm going to put one hand onto my rib cage and the other onto my pelvis just to make sure I'm isolating my lower back and pelvic movement. So I'm simply rocking onto my sitting bones and off of my sitting bones. And now I'm going to find the midpoint between those two extremes, and that's going to be my neutral spine. Lovely. Then I'm going to put my hands onto my hips and I'm going to do some circles. Again, I'm trying to keep my shoulders nice and still. And as I bring the hips forwards, I'm tucking tailbone just to switch on those lower tummy muscles. And I'll go in the other direction again, trying to keep my shoulders nice and still. Fantastic. And back into my start position, remembering neutral spine. Now the last thing I'm going to do is think about my right and my left sitting bone. Okay, so I'm going to just work from one sitting bone to the other, tilting my pelvis from side to side. So I'm transferring my weight through my right sitting bone. I'm lifting my left sitting bone by bringing the left side of my pelvis to my left shoulder using my left corset muscle. Then I'll switch. I'll push my left sitting bone down, right sitting bone up. Lovely, so right side of the pelvis to the right shoulder using the right corset. And I'm going to switch again. So this time I've got my left corset and I feel more weight coming through my right foot. So I'm using my right bottom muscle now. Okay, so right bottom muscle to the left corset. And I push my left sitting bone down. It's my right corset muscle to my left bottom muscle. Fantastic. So those are the muscles that are going to be so important to us as riders on our lateral, so our side to side pelvic stability. So I'm just going to work through that. Okay, so as riders, it's obviously really important that first of all we have good awareness of where equal weight bearing is. Often what we think is equal actually isn't, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that we can control the side to side pelvic tilting, because it's obviously really important for us when we're riding the horses, no matter what we're doing, even if we're in a straight line or we're leg yielding, we're on a 20-meter circle, we're jumping, we're doing some flat work, we need to have great control and awareness of what we're doing. Now I'm going to find the midpoint between those two extremes, so equal weight bearing through both of my sitting bones. I imagine I have two beams of light on the front of the hips, and I want to keep them facing forwards. I don't want them going from side to side, okay? Really important that I don't rotate my pelvis backwards. Lovely. Nice and soft through the rib cage, so no flaring ribs up towards the ceiling. Good, and we can do a couple of backwards shoulder rolls to open up through the chest, lengthening those collarbones. Imagine you're going to tuck your shoulder blades into your back pockets, and you've got that piece of string pulling your head all the way up towards the ceiling. Lovely. So that's your start position on the big gym ball. So I think it's really important to just get practicing with this. It's a really good starting exercise that will then allow you to kind of build on and work on some more progressive stuff. This isn't always appropriate, so if you do have any medical history and you're not sure, please feel free to send me a message. You can contact me via the Chaps Physio Facebook or Instagram page. Of course, feel free to practice this, film it, post it on social media. Remember to tag Chaps Physio and always hashtag Team Chaps. Thank you very much.